Hi, this is Kurt Lieber, President and Founder of Ocean Defenders. This is a report I'm doing on our outings for May and June of this year. On May 5th, I was invited to speak at the Ridgecrest Elementary School in Palos Verdes. There were about 300 8th graders in attendance. I want to thank Ranko Baylog for introducing ODA to their science teacher, and to Ryan Moore for taking the initiative to make sure the school understood exactly how the students would benefit from my presentation. The afternoon was topped off by a couple of students presenting me with this handmade poster that several of them had signed, expressing their appreciation for all that ODA does. It was a very special day for me, and I appreciated the sentiment. In late June, I received an email from Walter Marty. He'd come across quite a bit of net on one of his dives on Los Coronado Islands, which is just south of San Diego. While at the scuba show, I was telling Heather and Kareem Hamza about this, and I mentioned that I wanted to get in contact with the dive boat operator who had taken Walter out and see if they'd be interested in letting us use their boat for a day. Heather and Kareem quickly said, "Hey, we know that guy." As luck would have it, the boat owner was at the show, and they quickly introduced me to Seamus Callahan. Without hesitation, he agreed to make his boat available as long as we paid for fuel. A great deal. Heather quickly sent out a call to her dive contacts from Hollywood divers. Within a couple of days, we had a team of 10 divers signed up, all trained in GUE dive practices. These are technical divers who use their mixed gases and go through a rigorous training to increase their dive skills and reduce any potential for dive-related mistakes. On July 12th, we made our way down to San Diego, where we boarded the Humboldt and headed to Los Coronado Island, which lie just inside of Mexican waters. Captain Ryan Wilbarger briefed us on conditions, currents, and how the net was laid out on the bottom. This is a site known as the Keyhole, and you'll see here how it gets its name as the constant surge rushes through the opening. After 2 months of countless emails and strategizing, the divers were eager to enter the water, and without hesitation and a little prodding from Anita Diamato, they jumped into the water in what turned out to be outstanding conditions. Visibility was about 50 feet. Divers did a quick briefing at the surface and got coordinated into teams of 2, and they headed down to the bottom at about 100 feet. Almost immediately, the team found 2 abandoned lobster traps. It's important for us to remove these traps as they'll get violently tossed around during the winter storms and wreak havoc on all the plants and animals that live on the ocean floor. The team made quick work of securing them to a lift line, attaching a small lift bag to it, and sending that to the surface. As soon as we saw that lift bag, we hauled the traps onto the front deck.
Ryan, can I help?
Next up was the net itself. Even though Walter had sent out a video of his first encounter with the net, it was the team's first time seeing it in person. And they did a slow swim up and down the length of the net to evaluate the conditions, as well as the best way that they felt would be to get it to the surface. As they were pulling and cutting some sections of the net to test it, they found out that a lot of silt had accumulated on it. And as you'll see, once it's disturbed, visibility goes down really quickly, sometimes to next to nothing. After a 1-hour dive, they came back on deck and enjoyed some of the local wildlife, while zeroing in on a plan to get some sections of the net off the bottom and onto the boat. This surface interval was topped off by a rare visit from some rhesus dolphins. It was the first time I had seen them. At about 12:30, the divers entered the water for their second dive. At this time, there was a small surge starting to build, and as a result, the visibility was starting to get a little worse. One of the teams found another lobster trap on their dive and attached some lift bags to it and sent it to the surface. Hey, nice pictures, Tom. As you can see here, the surge can be really strong, even at 100 feet deep. And this is just a small surge. Imagine how powerful it would be when 10-foot waves start bashing this island during the winter storms. With this net moving around as much as it does, it's not hard for fish to get caught in it, especially the young ones. They've never seen these things before. And here's a young cabezon, probably 6 months old, maybe a year old at the most. And we were able to set a lot of fish free this day, and here's one that hopefully will live to see a long and prosperous life. At the end of the day, we removed about 300 pounds of junk. And when the net was on the deck, everyone pitched in to get all the critters out of it and back into the water. Even though this was not a lot of material, we now know what we are up against, and it set the stage for returning and pulling up more net the next time. And return we did. 3 days later, Trevor Folks, Bryce Thompson, and Mark Hall returned to pull up another 600 pounds. Way to go, guys! Special thanks go out to Heather Hamza, who did an incredible job of putting together the entire dive team and making sure they all had the right gas mixes that were required for working at this depth. Also thanks to Hollywood Divers for providing each diver with reduced rates for those gas fills. Kudos also to Tom Dobson, who did a yeoman's job of contacting as many media outlets as possible in San Diego. This was the most media coverage we had ever gotten. Please take a look at our ODA in the news link to view some of the media coverage we had. Most of all, I'd like to thank all our wonderful supporters and volunteers, especially the volunteers that came out with us on this day, took a day off from work, and pitched in to make a difference for our underwater world. You are all heroes in my logbook. And please, if you can, make a generous contribution as soon as you can. We need to keep the money flowing so we can keep on doing what we do.